against when I am under a threat.
You're live now, Juan, so
Good.
be careful.
Hope Grant Cardone heard me. Hope this is forever emblazoned in the internet so you can listen to it forever.
Yeah.
Going to be drinking my recycled water over here. My recycled bottled water. Not from a tap. The taste of health. Of the exactly same thing that comes from our tap. Just thought I'd crack one open.
Crack one open for no point. I mean, if you're really serious, you would have filled up the bathtub. We're discussing
Filled up the bathtub. That's true.
ridiculous rain that's here in Brisbane, and
I did buy a 24 pack. So I guess that should do me for 5 days.
yeah, but I mean, you could have just filled up a bathtub full of water, and then you wouldn't have needed to. Or do you think
that's
it's
stale
already,
water, man?
Do you think it's already?
No, I don't think so. But imagine that stale water just sitting there. No thanks. Don't know about open stale water. Have you ever been taught about drinking open water? How you shouldn't drink stagnant
you
water?
want running water, yeah, like from a stream and stuff.
So what we're saying, folks, is if you're listening to this right now on YouTube, make sure you go drink some stagnant pond water sitting down the road.
Nice. I'll do a little tester here. Tester for the chat. Chat is popping up. It's amazing how quick all this stuff is, really. Like that took not even half a second for it to
pop up,
go from my phone to popping up onto the correct place. So that's good. That's very good. And you know what I think is also very cool, and I'll let everyone see this because I got my hotkeys sorted out.
Oh,
now,
yeah.
So
not putting them on
be 0. Let's see what happens. Yeah, I think that looks right. I have my hotkeys so that I'm uploading another video as we speak on a different channel. And I was a bit worried what would happen, but it looks like it's all
playing. It's playing.
Looks like it's all coming through.
Playing
all right,
nicely.
So I'm pretty happy about that. And there we go. It pops up on the stream itself. Very nice. Very, very, very nice. I like this. I like this a lot. All right, let's get back to our view. And yeah, so we've still got 2 minutes to kill.
Good.
I think the only thing, I mean, there's still so much to play with, really. Like you can add graphics and whatnot. But the only thing I feel like we're really missing at the moment is a way for me so that when I press record here, the music can actually come through into the live stream as well. Because at the moment, we just hear it coming through the speakers.
Gotcha.
That's the only thing I
outputting
like
the audio as well through the actual stream itself.
Correct. Testing 1 2 1 2 1.
Test,
Joey,
test,
got a
test,
Joey
test.
broad shoulders in the chat. Joey, what is
Broad
up, my friend?
shoulders.
How you going, man? Hope you're doing well in Canberra. Might be coming up to see us soon. My birthday is in
Couple of weeks.
2 days. No, sorry, 3 days. My birthday's in 3 days. And then I'm going to be 30. Damn.
30, man.
There's what the look of a 30-year-old people. Almost 30-year-old. Enjoy my youth while it still lasts. And bring up my notes. This one's going to be a fun one today. I think you'll enjoy this, Joey. We're going to be chatting about a hypothetical. And we know how much Joey likes hypotheticals.
Hypothetical. He does enjoy them.
From all of our extensive trips together. Yes. You know what? 6:59. Let's just get into it.
Let's kick it off.
Let's just do it. I need to make this screen slightly bigger to be able to hit the record button. There she is. All right, you ready? I'll run this one, my friend. So
let's rock and roll.
Let's get into it. Oh yeah! Whoa! Whoa! Welcome everyone to a wet and rainy episode of the Mere Mortals.
We're
Musings.
inside this time, though. We're
inside. Doing our live stream inside. You have Kyron on this side.
One on the other end of the mic.
One on the other side. And before we get into our topic, I just want to say that we are going to have a little bit of a change up with the schedule. So we're now going to be aiming to live stream 7 p.m. on Sundays instead of 7 p.m.
Australian Eastern Standard Time.
Eastern Standard Time, the best time of them all. And the reason for this is we just feel like we can be a bit more consistent now. So this is one of our live ones. So we should hopefully, there's been some testing as well in the live podcast. Some people have been able to do live podcasts coming through Curiocaster, for example, now. So that's it's popping up. So I need to get
not too far in the future then.
I need to get my arse in gear and be able to start practicing some of the value for value self-hosting, and then maybe in the future we can move this over if after some extensive testing and whatnot. But anywho, today's episode is going to be a hypothetical. So I am the one who chose this topic, and I came this, and I'm calling it starting from scratch.
Starting from scratch.
And there's quite a few hypotheticals related to things like this. Well, what would you do if you were homeless? How would you recover? Like, do you think you'd be able to become a millionaire again? Things like that.
Yep.
My brother showed me a video like that the other day, and this dude just got roasted because everyone was like, you're still using cameras and equipment, like you're still sleeping in the studio and things like that.
And it was a YouTube video. How you went from being poor to being rich again.
Yeah. He was like, I'm doing it to prove that it can be done. Anyone can become a millionaire sort of thing. And whatever. But this one in particular, I got from the conversation between Tim Urban and Lex Fridman on the Lex Podcast. And Tim Urban had this hypothetical, and I'll just lay it out for us now. Did you listen to it? Yeah, okay. So basically, the hypothetical for everyone at home is, imagine a witch is born into existence or something. There is a witch, and she casts some magic, and she essentially reverts everything that humans done physically into nothingness. So all your clothes, the houses, bridges, physical things we have created on our world, all of it gets transported to nothingness, and so humans are left basically naked and bare. We're naked as the day we were born, but
we still have all the wisdom, all the knowledge that
and she basically broadcasts a message deep into each of our brains and says this: hey, I'm the one who's done this. I'm responsible for this. So there's no sort of question of what happened. Yep. Was it the Russians? Was it the English? Was it the Swahilis? No, it was the witch.
It was the witch.
And she says, I will return all of your things back to you, all of your possessions. Everything will go back to the way it was. And like physically speaking, all of the stuff will be there. And all you have to do, simple little task, is create an iPhone 13. Yep. That's all you have to do. One that could pass.
Not an iPhone 12.
Not an
iPhone 12.
XS. Yeah.
A 13. Not an SE, not a 5, not a 4.
No. So an iPhone 13. And basically, it doesn't matter who creates it. It doesn't matter how it's created. It just needs to pass the rough test of what we would expect
an iPhone 13 to be.
Pre the debacle, I'll call it calamity. Pre the calamity. It needs to be that level. As long as you can create that, I'll restore everything else. And so the question then is, I guess, like, well, what happens from there? How would humans respond? Would we be able to get back to where we were? Would it take a long time? Would we ever be able to do it? So I thought it was a fun hypothetical, and I've been doing a little thinking about it. So let's just jump into it. So did you have any initial thoughts? I had a rough structure of how I was going to
let's run through your rough structure. Okay. I've got a couple of notes. We'll see if they fall in there.
Yeah, okay. So my the thing I want to start off with was, I guess, separating it into epochs, or like time limits. So what would happen in the first minute, first hour, first day, first week, first month, first year, first decade, first century? Okay. It's like, how would humans respond? Yep. And maybe we can look at it from just what we would do as a perspective, and then we can go through all of that and then expand out to humanity afterwards. Okay. So what would happen in the first minute for you? What would be your reactions, and maybe even what would happen to humanity? We'll do both at the same time.
Yeah. Okay. My view is that in the first minute, in a similar way that maybe all of humanity, I think it would be find shelter. In the sense of, I think it'd be such a weird thing. Let's just envision that you're, I don't know, outside, not in a house, and you like essentially just fall from like a 7-meter height to like the ground or something because the house has disappeared. But
Well,
I'm imagining,
that's actually what my thing was. The first instance there'll be a lot of death because everyone on planes, everyone who's higher than 2 stories, everyone who is in a location beneath a dam or anywhere where there is human construction that is holding up.
Yeah, like there's going to be a lot of death. Like a lot of death is going to occur just like straight
anyone
away.
in a cold climate. I would argue that as it is right now with the torrential rainpour and the weather that is here in Brisbane at this very moment, I think a lot of people in Brisbane would die very, very quickly.
Like just quickly, Just people
purely,
in mines wouldn't be able to get out anymore. Like all this sort of stuff. Just like straight death. So
a lot of death. Yes.
First minute, like lots of death. And for the people who are alive, either helping out the other individuals or finding shelter of some kind of some sort.
Okay.
I'm just thinking, even let's just take a scenario where you somehow survive this initial apocalypse.
Yeah.
Then you're kind of like stranded sitting on the street. You go,
well, there's no street anymore. You're stranded on the dirt patch
of the grass,
where a street used to be.
Yeah. So all of a sudden, I believe that you would be trying to orientate yourself, first of all. Just trying to be like, what's going on? What's happening around me? Because seeing the world around you without infrastructure would be completely different. Like imagine being here without any buildings or anything. All of a sudden, you see it for the land that it actually is and the river far away, and you go, okay, where the hell am I? And then you start seeing other people. So I think the first minute, purely orientating, and then slowly moving to the, okay, where can I hide? Like, where can I find some shelter?
Yeah. Okay. I think for me, like psychologically in the first minute, I've always sort of played this hypothetical as well, a different one to myself, which is, what if I, lost both my arms or lost both my legs? What if I went blind? What if, insert tragic thing here? And I always wonder, would I allow myself to feel self-pity? Because for me, it would sort of seem like, imagine you both your hands blow up in a firework accident or something like that. You're playing with fireworks.
Okay.
You go through the initial shock of just being like, oh God, my hands are gone. The pain, the recovery, and the drugs. And so you're just going to be in a haze for a while.
Yep.
What happens when you sort of like finally come out of your haze, you finally have a moment to yourself and you look at your 2 stumps and you go, I've lost my hands. Do in that moment,
that realization,
you allow yourself to feel pity? Because I'm wondering, for me, it's like, if I allowed myself any pity at all, that could just completely ruin my life. Because the rest of my life, I could feel sorry for myself and whatnot. So I wonder, like, would I have the mental fortitude to just at that very moment say, I'm never going to allow myself to feel pity? And same thing for this situation. This whole thing happens, like, let's just pretend I'm unhurt, that, we fall from this height and I'm only like bruise my bum or something. I don't break a leg.
Yep.
Would I allow myself to be like, no matter what happens, I'm in for a rough lifetime. Like, it's not, I don't think it's going to be a pretty lifetime from here on out. Would I allow myself to feel pity in that moment? Or would I try and...
Pity for who? For yourself?
Well, for myself, for everyone. Like, there's going to be so much death, destruction, sadness.
Is pity the right word for it, though?
Yeah, it's like self-pity and self-pity in particular. Woe is me. I don't
know. I don't know if that would occur as readily as I think you're thinking it would. Because in the comparison you're giving about the hands, you've got perspective of the previous one who you were, but also the comparison that other humans have hands. What if let's go with the other example, you come up into a world where everybody loses hands all at once. So the comparison is that everyone's got their hands.
Let's do like a Hiroshima type bombing or something like that, an actual catastrophe. Everyone has radiation burns or eyesight loss or family members.
Yeah, I just think that the pity that you might feel if everyone has it maybe diminishes somewhat, because now that's just the normality.
I don't think so, man. I think there would be a strong temptation for me to like weep and be like, oh God, just oh God, okay, this is gonna suck, and feel sorry for myself for being in this situation. I think that'd be a temptation for that.
Okay.
How about you? Anyone on the live stream? Let us know if you think that would happen. Okay, so the first minute's gone. Juan's not feeling any pity for himself. He's obviously.
I think I'm trying to put it like into a position what would happen. Like you fall on the ground.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think orientation. The first minute would be orientation.
Cool. All right. So the first hour, what are you doing in your first hour of after this event?
Okay, so the first hour, I would be approaching any of the surviving humans that I can find to confirm, did they hear the same thing I heard in my brain?
Yeah.
Confirming that there isn't any infrastructure that you can see in the vicinity or in the area.
Yeah, that's not just a hoax or a trick.
Yeah, so I think in the first hour, I'd probably try to gather with a couple of people who are alive to go, is something we can do? And I would envision that in the first hour, you might be also helping out a lot of other members or individuals around the vicinity of wherever you are. Perhaps someone's stuck or broke a leg, or someone needs to get moved, something like that. So I think the first hour would be spent almost connecting with the people who are alive around you, and just kind of proving it to your own mind and being like, okay, is this real? Did everyone else hear that? Like, is this actually believable? Does anyone here have a phone or something else like that?
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. I think my approach would be, I don't think I would need much confirmation. I'd maybe do a couple of like self-administered tests to be like, am I dreaming? That would be a particular one. Really like sit down, calm down and think like, did I take any acid recently that I know it's
someone like fed me something.
Is it possible I am hallucinating or something like now? And like just spend a fair chunk of time, probably at least 10 minutes, just really trying to investigate, is this true? Maybe do a little bit of confirmation with others, but I'm not sure I would need that much. I think just seeing the physical surroundings and
would
everything
be like,
going.
oh man, that's actually happening.
I'd maybe climb the nearest hill and just to get a little bit of a look out and go, okay, yeah, everything's gone. Like there's nothing here. I would then, I think my immediate reaction would be, and this would actually be quite hard. I'd probably have to think about this, but I would try and get to my family, I think. So I think I would immediately just be like, I know where they live. They're probably not going to move from there. I think it would be
impossible for you to find them.
Yeah, see, I'm not sure how hard it would be, because
I genuinely think that unless you were already someone who could navigate via the sun or location.
Well, I think you still have an option, because from what I understood, it's like bare ground now. It's not like trees have popped up where there used to be houses.
It's like the existing, what it used to be there before is just gone.
So I'm pretty sure I could navigate the road system. Like there's no roads anymore, but there's paths of nothingness. So you'd still be able to see roughly
path of nothingness, but also where houses would have also been nothingness.
True, but you'll have those places of grass, and you'd have delineators of, that's there's a sidewalk, because you can see all the front lawns and things like that. So I think I'd be able to get to the freeway. I'd be able to follow the freeway home.
See, this is the interesting thing. So yeah, so it's interesting when you talk about this, because you go, when you go onto the freeway. But then you think about it, that freeway is elevated, especially when you come onto that freeway here where we live. So there would be what's there at the moment, right? So that's actually like an embankment to stop water coming through. So that would be like a river that would have burst through, because there's already infrastructure that would stop it through. So I wonder what the landscape would be without all of the buildings around it.
I have the feeling like there'd just be enough of empty patches, which sort of makes sense that you'd be able to do it. Like I don't imagine the freeway is going to get covered by a landslide, or because it's all the structure is holding like retaining walls. It's like maybe in this kind of weather, yes, but I'm going to assume it's like a normal day in this situation. I have the feeling I'd be able to try and start making my way towards home in the first hour. And I would start hauling ass to really get there as quick as I can, and just hope that I'd maybe use some thoughts like, oh, okay, it's a Monday afternoon. Dad would probably be in the city right now. Maybe I should go to him first and link up with him, and then we can try and find my brother and
Gotcha. Okay.
and something.
Yep.
So I think that would be my initial hour.
It's good that like the first hour right now, the witch has come through and said this. Nobody's yet started to take any action on it.
I don't think the really bad stuff is. I mean, there's a lot of death, but the more death, like the real nasty type of death, is coming.
Is
up.
yet to come. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So then the next epoch of a day, I guess.
Yeah. Okay. For sure. Okay. So all right, the first day. What are you doing in the first day?
Okay. Well, in the first day. So the first day, straight after that hour of sort of conversing with people around. So my immediate thought there would not be like, oh, I'm gonna go to the family or anything. No, I'd be like, I'll just find that will be too much of a difficult thing. I'm just trying to think what I think my first thought would go, okay, I get that witch put that thought in my mind and I understand what it's saying, but I go, how the hell am I going to eat any food today? So I think my first thought would be, how am I going to get food? And like, where's going to be shelter? So like, shelter and food. How am I going to be like being able to sustain any of that? So I'm going to assume that some food would be left over on a lot of what used to be houses and fridges. So like they would just fall on the ground type of deal. Because there's some things that are not like, they're not human made. They've just been human cut. Let's just say like chicken or other pieces.
Yeah.
So I'd probably...
So that'd just be a little bit dirty, probably.
Yeah, a bit dirty. A little, like, at that point, man, you got to get what you can take.
One's worrying about, like, the maybe potentially infected, water.
They're going to eat, like, the raw chicken on the dirt. So I think my strategy would be that, again, that one day I'd be like, okay, everybody around, gather, like, all the food we can, like, almost build, like, a little tribe in the area of people you can see living in the valley.
So you're not moving from
I'm not moving from the current location, yep. So I'm probably, first I'd go, gather the food, set up, like, a little shelter ground. I'll make sure I'm away from the river, for sure. So if I'm, like, at the moment, we're not close enough to the river, which is fine. But maybe I'd try to move away a little bit away from the river and set up just some sort of campground, food, fire type of deal. Why would I specifically get away from the river though? Because let's just say, give or take 4 hours, the dam and every system wherever you are in the world, it's going to absolutely destroy all water systems, which is what made me think when you were talking about, trying to get to somebody, man, beyond the locale of probably like, whatever, a 10 kilometer radius around you, like the scenery is going to change completely once all of these dams water go and fly through.
But like between here and Logan, for example, how many is there any rivers you really need to cross? I can't think of any.
Not a lot of rivers that I can think of my top of my head, but when you think of all of the, say specifically we're talking highways here, the highways from like where we live to go down to the south where some of our family live, it does go over particular areas where there is river systems, or what you would used to be river systems, where they have roads. All of those would just become new river systems when all that water gets released, at least at the first get-go, until it like slowly starts going whichever the normal natural path is. Obviously, there's lots of backed up water that would get released.
Yeah.
But I think for me, I'm
not as confident as that. I would still say like you'd be able to roughly just walk the highway back home.
Yeah. Okay. So I'd probably say the first day, but yeah, for me, first day spent just gathering people, getting food, setting up some fire, just figuring out what the hell you could do for shelter. Because I would struggle. I would assume having to like look for trees or some shit like that that's available and finding what shelter could be found.
Yeah. Okay. All right. For me, I think like the first day is really just trying to get back home to the family. I imagine that would take most of my first day, and I really wouldn't be thinking of anything else apart from that.
Okay.
I think that would be like priority number one, find immediate family members. I would maybe have chatted with you just before I left and be like, I'm going to do this. What are your plans, Juan? And you'd tell me I'm going to stay here. And then I'd go, okay, cool. I'll try and come back here. I think that would be the go. Like just to meet up with you again probably would be like get my family and then come back here. I think,
man,
it's a lot of going, but
jeez,
I'll have my family at least, man. your family.
The problem is
your
the problem with
I'd
this,
probably even maybe like try and find your.
the problem
maybe.
with this is that a lot of people would think like, oh yeah, I'll go and find a family. What's the like statistically? I don't know what the great odds are that the person like you're trying to find is like alive realistically. You know, if you were to go, because again, we're talking about like, imagine we fell from my second story floor. Yeah, these people could have been on the third story floor, second story floor.
Yeah, well, they could have been on the freeway and just bodies. Oh man,
that's what I mean.
Be the other thing.
That's what I mean.
The freeway would be littered with bodies of just
people going at 100 k's an hour. Well, it wouldn't be a highway anymore; it'd just be ground.
Yeah,
It'd just be like people rolling over.
It'd be, everywhere. It would not be a pretty sight going along there. But I'm, honestly, I think basically everywhere would just have the cry of human pain, and I think that that's probably what I would imagine that first day would be like. Just misery, just absolute misery everywhere. And if you're one of the lucky ones, and I'm not even sure I would count being alive lucky. Like I would sort of count.
Just an alternative.
Just a death. Like, honestly, like if I just died, that would probably, I'd be pretty okay with that. But if you're one of the lucky ones and can move around and stuff, like there's just going to be so many people begging for help, crying out, and that's going to be very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Very uncomfortable. Yeah. Okay. So, what do you think? How was humanity faring just as a whole after that first day?
Yeah. So I think a
like
day.
How many people have died? What percentage of humanity?
I'm going to say 60% of humanity.
60?
60%.
Okay. Okay. That's pretty high. I'm not sure I'd go that high. I think I'd go maybe like 20%.
20%.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking the amount of people on planes, the amount of people like nearby water.
How many people are in
hospitals?
transit?
Like everyone in hospitals just like dies. Like what percentage of the population lives above the third story?
Yeah.
On buildings.
Yeah, I'm not sure about
like
that. Yeah, that's interesting. I should have done some research on that.
So I would assume, yeah, like a really high percentage of people would die. But then like the next epoch from like a day to a week, I think it's probably where it's starting to come. I actually think that, the witch has told you like, okay, if you create an iPhone 13, then okay, you'll be able to get back to all the physical things you need. But I think the next epoch for me of, what are we doing now? I think 95% of people have died after a week because I'm going to say
after
a majority of people couldn't get food or shelter of some kind. People have gone diseases. People have gone on walks for 100 kilometers without any food and like died along the way.
Would you count yourself as part of that 95%, you think? Like saying you...
I think the only way that I would have any chance of survival of a week is if in like that first initial time, I was able to find people in my surrounding area that had some skills in surviving like that. If not, then there's no way. Like I'm not surviving a week without any skills of like shelter or food or anything like that. No way.
Yeah. I always wonder about the Maslow's hierarchy, and it's like you need shelter first, and then I think it's water, then food afterwards, and then it sort of escalates up into the airy-fairy stuff like companionship and would I be able to last a week?
Because you'd be able to last a week without food
for sure,
right?
For sure.
But water, how are you going to last? Like, there's no potable water.
I think you can last a week as long as there's water around, but you're not going to be in a good place. And I reckon that's where I'd say. I'd probably have drunk some bad water, eaten some bad food that I'd found on the side of the road, be super cold or super cold or hot, depending on what season it is. Very sunburnt, I think I would be feeling the worst I've ever felt in my life.
Yeah.
No matter, and physically, not just emotionally.
Which I think is what, again, like whenever, I think from what you were saying as well, and like if anyone ever tried to tell me like, oh yeah, I'll just navigate my way 60 kilometers somewhere, you'd be in such a state that you would not know. Like you would just almost be delirious in your state to be able to even properly navigate like correctly. So I think the first week would just see like 5% of the human population remaining. I don't even know if I'd be remaining unless there's people around me who like know how to fish or something like that, because you'd be fishing barehanded, right? Or you have to create like some spears or something to go and fish Like that's the only thing within our area here. There's no animals really to go hunt. You're not going to really find a kangaroo that's accessible nearby.
Yep.
So unless there's people there who like know how to do that, I'm like shit out of luck.
One's like trying to find the aquarium or the...
And again, still by this week, there's been no thought of how we're going to put together an iPhone 13.
No, agreed.
Nothing on that.
Agreed.
Yeah.
I would go as far to say the first month and the first year follow that same trend. The next, like the first month, we're up to 99.99% fatalities now. We are finding maybe a couple of like random people who have managed to get together. Some tribes are forming, and this is maybe the start of some nastiness between humans as well. You know, people who are just, you know, guys who just want sex, raping girls. People who see other people have some food, killing them for their food.
Yep, definitely. Yeah.
I think,
that, for sure, I would start to see that. I reckon by a year's time, so moving into like month and then all the way into a year.
Yep.
I would certainly see that human civilization would start splitting into like that tribe mentality. Almost, you'd have combative people. I think, still to that point, nobody would have thought through of, yes, let's make an iPhone 13. Let's come all together to get this done.
Yep, for sure. So, what I had written was I'm very bearish on the short term. And by short term, I'm even going up to like a decade. I feel like a decade is the short term. From the decade onwards, that's where it's like a little bit hazy for me. And if you have any good arguments on what humanity and humans will be doing after a decade, I could be swayed either way, because I'm sort of thinking like there could be a little bit of hope there, and then we're screwed as a whole. Like there's no coming back. What are your thoughts on past a year? Up to a decade's time. Okay. What's happening in general by that? I'm dead by then. I'm pretty sure of that.
Yep.
I don't have the survival skills to make it. I don't think. And even if you have to get really lucky. Yeah. You have to be really lucky to be able to do it. Yeah.
Should we look into Boostagrams first and answer some questions, and then we can get back to it?
Yeah. Okay. All right. Sounds good. So the people in the chat, we have Westside Baby. We've got Liam F and Joey Broadshoulders. Man, they've been talking some shit. Like, it had nothing. Liam F, does everybody know we need to recreate the iPhone or just common? No, or just the main people? No, everyone knows. Everyone knows. Yeah, you know, even people who don't know what an iPhone is know that we need to create a thing called the iPhone.
Yeah, like a 3-year-old baby also got that message in his mind.
Yep. Now, will the baby remember that? I would say no, but the message was transmitted. Then they started talking about a Slacks Creek Dam near IKEA, possibly. Joey wants to set up a camp on top of the Southern Hemisphere's biggest IKEA. Joey, there is none, unless you're cutting down the trees yourself, mate. That's
there's no building, there's no nothing.
Yeah. Liam F has suggested killing people to eat them. I would probably say there's a bit of that going on.
I think there'd be some of that.
I would anticipate that. Now then they're talking about random shit. So
good. Okay.
Get into the Boostagram.
All right. So here's a couple of Boostagrams to kick it off. So from the February 18th, because we haven't done from a little while actually. Because we.
I suppose so. Yeah, you'd have to find the last live.
Yeah. So Feb 18th. Cool. Okay. So from Peter, because I actually love hearing authentic perspectives on things I don't necessarily agree with. This episode reaffirmed my insight on why I'm not yet sold on the idea. I often poo-poo NFTs, not because I don't believe in the technology, as colored coins, aka NFTs, have been around since the early days of Bitcoin, but the fact that I just don't see the metaverse base layer becoming a reality either.
Yeah.
Okay. 5,000 sats said by Fountain.
Yeah,
that's interesting.
I'm not confident on the on the metaverse. At least not where it is now. Maybe in 5 years' time, but anything happening there now, I think it's a waste of time.
Yeah, I think there's still a little bit of time to go. I would recommend people to go and listen to Lex Friedman and Mark Zuckerberg, which they talked about Meta for quite an extended period of time. So it's very good listen to
I haven't got around to that yet.
Thank you very much, Peter.
Yes, thank you, Peter. Much appreciated, my friend.
This is Brian of London.
Yes.
Who Karen's also had a conversation, an interview with as well. You need me to explain decentralized systems properly. 1,000 sat cent.
Using Customatic, and he has. We organized. I had been meaning to chat with Brian a fair bit before this, and we just, not me. I dallied and was doing different things, but we have already had the conversation. It should be up. I'm going to put it up on Saturday. So yes, look forward to that.
Most definitely.
Talked a lot about decentralization, Hive, and a crypto class action suit here in Australia.
Yeah, which sounded interesting.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
This one's from Sir Spencer.
Yes.
And he sent through 6,969 sats by Fountain. Now, this one's an interesting one. It says, picture this boost. Interesting you bring up aphantasia.
Yes.
I had a girlfriend in college who years after we split discovered she was an aphant as well and wrote an interesting piece about it. Warning, it's hella long. So people want to go and check it out. It's obviously, if you're not seeing the video, if you're not sharing it through, it's electricliterature.com. No, I can't picture that living without a mind's eye. I have the opposite of aphantasia. My mind's eye is vivid, colorful, and in motion. Full 3D. Cheers.
Well,
dang, that's pretty crazy that he's got such a full 3D view of sort of his mind's eye. Because I don't have full 3D, but I can picture it, some sort of like 2D view.
Yeah, well, I'll talk a bit about this because, well, first of all, thank you, Sir Spencer.
Yeah.
Much appreciated.
Amazing,
He's got a show called Bowl After Bowl, which is in a reference to marijuana, and so, man, what he sees on marijuana must be like, and let alone like acid or like a full hallucinogenic. That would be pretty wild. So a couple of things from this. Number one, I did try and read it, and he is correct. It is hella long. So
okay.
I read like a little bit of the start, middle, and end of it, and was like, okay, I kind of get the gist of what she was trying to say in it. One, I didn't realize that people were called aphants. I didn't realize. I was reading that through, and I was like, huh? That's kind of cool. I'm okay.
Would you try and connect with fellow aphants when you're out there?
Start like a meetup group or something?
Yeah. Well, I was just gonna say when when the world or like all the infrastructure finishes, would you be like, I'm gonna find my fellow aphants?
What do you see in your mind? That would be funny. One of the things that I realized reading hers was, man, she has just people who care about her. Because her story was basically like she tells her mum, like I can't see anything when I try and picture something in my mind's eye. And her mum's just like, oh my God, dearie me, like this is a tragedy. You're missing out on so much of life. Like all this emotions, and she's telling her friends and things like that.
Oh my God. Yeah.
And bloody, I tell my friends and they're all just like, oh, okay, I don't care. That's weird. Like, oh, I didn't realize that. Like I tried to show Brendan and some other people the picture of the star, like the
red star. Yeah.
The red star. What does it see? And it basically, for those who haven't seen it, it's like a black screen as number one, a black screen with like a blurry, very blurry faded star outline, and then it's progressively getting sharper and clearer and more color. And all of them were sort of like, that's not a red star. Like that thing there isn't a red star. I'm like, I know it's not a red star. I can't even see that in my mind.
Right.
And just, I was just getting shit. There was no caring. There was no loving or appreciation or like, God, Kyron, that must be so hard for you.
Yeah, there was no care.
This is why there's no pity for me. This is why I need to create my own bloody pity. The self-pity.
There you go.
So that was pretty funny. So thank you for sending that through. And first of all, man, how cool is that, getting a Boostagram with a link in it?
That is really cool.
Like that.
Yeah. They don't stop. No,
they don't.
So here's another one from Peter. Another enlightening interview. Now, that was in relation to your interview with...
That would have been with Faraz, I'm guessing.
Yeah,
I haven't actually gone into it to see
exactly where it went through, but that's 2,222 sats sent by Fountain.
Quack, 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 quack. Row a ducks.
And the last one, Dave Jones. I keep hearing hold on loosely. the song from 38 Special in my head during this segment. This is when I was saying hold on loosely.
I didn't actually get around to listening to that, but I do have my phone plugged in now, and so I can put one earphone in.
So you can kind of listen to it, but without
whilst live.
Good, okay.
Yeah.
Without it spoiling coming through the actual
correct
audio here, because I was going to get pinged for.
Correct. So you'll just see me grooving out, and you're like, damn.
See, if you could make it play for the folks at home, but not through us, I wonder whether that would like get up past the copyright infringement.
On YouTube, no. On
mate,
yeah, bloody ads. On YouTube, no. On the podcasting world, just continual ads. This is why I don't use Spotify.
Karen hates ads, folks.
On the actual podcast audio itself, it's sort of like you probably shouldn't do it because you can get in trouble later on if you become successful.
Gotcha. Okay. So they're there while Karen's cranking out to that tune sent by Dave. That was 1,000 sats sent by Castamatic. Thank you, Dave Jones.
Very cool. Yes.
Hold on loosely by 38 Special.
So that was in reference to Juan's strong opinions held on loosely.
Correct.
You can have a listen as well if you want, man.
Yeah, I'll listen to that.
Juan can tune out. Awesome. So everyone, thank you. So what is a Boostagram? You might be asking. There's a value for value podcast. So it's a way for you to connect with us, to send us a message. We read it out on the show, and we really do appreciate everyone who has sent in some messages with some Satoshis attached and whatnot. And yes, value for value. How much time have you spent listening to us? Joey, in particular, you should probably send us, I don't know, $1,000, mate.
All of your money.
All of your Kogan money.
Which is now $2.
We recommend people, I always say, at the moment, I don't always say, but I say go to Fountain, because Fountain is a really useful one. And if you join in the next 2 days, you actually get a free 1,000 sats put into your wallet from Oscar, and
nice.
he'll and then you can do with that
whatever you may
want.
will.
So what you want to do with that, send it through to
Send it through to Minimalist, exactly. All right, back to the question at hand of 10 years.
Back to business.
10 years. So I think still to the decade, I would envision that people are very much in tribes of the people who are remaining. Yeah, I'm going to say there's 100,000, 500,000 people, maybe 1 million people on Earth basically remaining. That's all that exists. There's more of a shift towards, okay, how do we build up a bit more now of civilization, of cutting down trees, of building more houses, I guess, rather than just shelter, and starting to become more hunter-gatherers, I'm going to assume. Yeah. To this point, still no iPhone 13 has been generated. And I actually think...
Do you think anyone's made any attempt to do anything?
I think as far as I could imagine would be that someone would have raised it and thought through it. Like I could envision that
like a really smart person.
Like maybe at night people are like, sitting by the fire going, okay, what do you know? Who do we need? Who could this go? But I mean, ultimately I fall in, I don't think that given any amount of time, and I'm talking like any amount of time, an iPhone 13 is going to be created again. And if I was to really put it, I would say maybe in like 50,000 years.
50,000
years. It wouldn't even be like 1,000 years. And so this is my reasoning.
Okay.
So,
I think I might know what this is.
Yeah. So my reasoning here is that why is it going to take like 50,000 years for it to ever come about? One, I think that the story will become mythical. It will become a thing that was spoken through to somebody's mind, perhaps in 50 years time. Like still in 50 years, I don't think anybody's had any shadow of possibility of being able to extract the particular elements that you need to start creating an iPhone 13. Not even close.
No.
And there's no network. There's no connection. There's no connectivity between you. Like, okay, let's talk about someone here, like us. There is nobody here who knows how to make an iPhone 13 at all. You can't contact them. You can't reach them. Nothing. So even if you've survived, you'd have to somehow hope that those people over the other side of the world are trying to think it through, because there is nothing you're doing, like us here, nothing we are doing towards the iPhone 13. So the reality of us really putting it forth like, oh, we want to help, Help do what? Nothing
Yeah.
we can do. So all you're doing is surviving. Really, all you're doing is surviving. So I think 50 years down the track, it almost will become, it's like almost next generation style.
By 50
it's like a
years,
story.
Yeah, by 50 years down the track, have we made any progress at all? Have we managed to create any steel, for example? Have
No,
we
not at
managed
all.
to build any roads or get any like aqueducts or plumbing or cement or any of like the basic?
I think that 50 years down track, we're still hunter-gatherers living in what now has been probably woods stretched with like skins of animals, that level of stuff. There's nothing
Yep.
beyond that path.
Yeah. Okay. I think. So yeah, if we go back to like the decade sort of limit, I would say, now we're down to maybe I'm just going to say maybe 1 million people on Earth. If it's much more than that, I would like, you know,
Be amazed.
if there was 100 million people, I would be astounded.
Yep.
Absolutely astounded. If there was 10 million people, maybe I could believe that, but I would say 1 million or less
Yep.
is the most likely. And I agree. I think there would have been some ability to create communication, so with like smoke signals and things like that. I think there would have been attempts at forming agriculture and getting away from hunter-gatherer and actually forming some agriculture. I think would have moved into an agricultural mindset by that point. The people who are living, because I just don't think the hunter-gatherer is even an option, because though all the skills that you need for that are just gone. You can eat this type of plant, but not this one. You can eat this berry, but not this. If you want to catch this squirrel.
I would say that would be more. You would like scrounge and find that than to go ahead and imagine who in the world here knows how to do agriculture.
I think you'd have a better just because there's sort of like some green thumbs out there. You know, there's people who've created little mini gardens in their backyards and stuff like that. I imagine some of them would survive. I think those skills would transfer more directly onto creating a little commune farm or something like that.
Yeah, but how many of them, say, grow all of that without any physical products that you would get from a shop or something like that, right? Like just making, to actually make, like, I don't know if you've ever grown like a strawberry or watermelon or whatever.
Maybe a long
without
time,
using products, man, that's hard as hell. That is hard as hell to actually like, grow.
I would still say that is easier than hunter-gathering, is what I would guess. Yeah. So I think there would be some like little settlements of humans, but I also agree we're not getting into the myth stage at this point, but by 50 years time, you would have had that. I would say there would only be, thousands, tens of thousands of people alive at this point who remember the actual incident. Yep. They had enough knowledge. Let's just say they were 16 years or older. I think there would be a very small amount of them, and I'd be really interested to know what they would do because yes, the forming into the myth.
That's what I mean. It would become a law. It would become like, hey, this is like, if you're able to ever do this, you will, get all of these riches and things that you've never known have existed.
So would they try and write down and just in as much detail everything that they
write down on what?
Yeah. So there's
write
the thing,
down on
like,
what?
Would they spend that 50 years just creating, paper? There's paperbark trees around here. It is possible to play around with and create. I think there'd be some way to be able to create something that is somewhat legible and somewhat durable. And would they? Because I think like if I'd managed to survive to that point, that's what I would be putting my bets on. Just writing down as much detail as of the tiny littlest minutia that I could find, and just making as many copies of that as possible.
Of what though?
General physics of this is what gravity is. This is why it roughly works. This is how light refracts in this way. I would say like the most general scientific principles that I can imagine, that I can, well, not imagine, that I can somewhat remember, I would be trying to pass those on just so it's like you don't need an Einstein level intellect to go like, oh, this is gravity. This is why, you know, I would hope that we could get past that the Earth is the center of the universe and not need to go through that whole phase of the Earth is the center of the universe, everything revolves around it.
Gotcha.
And then the concentric circles and all that stuff. That's yeah, that would be my ideal. That we could just skip forward at least a little bit, like not skip forward from 50,000 years to, I don't know, this 1700s maybe. Like if we could just skip that period, that would be kind of good.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's interesting how you think and say like you've gone to a pivot of, okay, there's no chance that within your lifetime this is going to get built. So just to pass it on to the next generation for them to be at the ready as much as possible.
I wouldn't even be saying the creating of the iPhone. I would just be trying to get information on what the world is, how the world is. I wouldn't. Me personally, I'm not even sure I'd be wanting to say like, hey, if you create this magical device thing and this is its properties and this is what it can do, everything will be great again. Because they'll fuck it up. Like in 200 years time, someone will be like, oh yeah, this is the device, and it'll be just totally wrong. Like it won't be the right dimensions.
But that's what makes me lean towards like it would never happen. Like so I just go like there's probably certain. So obviously I just read this. So if it wasn't genuinely for Steve Jobs, John Ivey, Wozniak, like the iPhone wouldn't have happened. That's it. Like that particular design, the way they did it, wouldn't happen. Wasn't gonna happen. So without like those types of people, and that's like, you know, it wasn't like phones didn't exist and phones with screens didn't exist. It just took these handful of people out of billions of people to make it happen. You would have to have the probability, statistical probability, that not only like people live long enough that they can do this again, first of all, but then somebody again stumbles upon the statistical chance to create the exact thing that is the iPhone 13. Like to me, I'm like that just. There could be so many other variables that I go, man, yeah, even 50,000 years down the track, unless you put down, this is exactly what the iPhone 13 is and looks like and all that, I would doubt humanity would ever see it again.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I'm pretty much agreed. I think the probability of humanity going extinct is pretty high as well. I'm not sure.
See, I don't know. I think we would survive. I think humanity would continue. Because it would to me, I'll go.
But it's like all the preppers, they're the ones who are surviving. You know, it's like all the weird,
yeah, but it makes
super weird ass people.
You know, they probably will get to a point. I think in human history, there's been a few times when there was like 1 million, 2 million people left on the earth, and you know, hunter gatherers just continued to live, and you just had to get on with it. But it took 10,000 years to evolve to a particular stage. So I think those evolutions would kind of increase because you can kind of teach a generation better, but there'd be just like a ton of things that you would struggle to connect with, especially in like that worldwide view. Like how in the world is anybody in Australia going to ever get to anybody else, say in the European country, in time before the generations just forget what German is, what French is. Like, you know, you'll get over there maybe 10 generations later when people invent like the boat to be able to get there. But you'll get there and be like, oh, I speak this language and I have no idea what the hell language you're speaking. Well, there's no way for me to know. It's kind of like, how are you even going to connect? So
I feel like our current knowledge would hinder us in some ways, because it would be like we have all of these things and we try and tell them. It's like, you know, trying to tell information to a chimp or something. It's just not going to get through. And if it gets through, it's totally distorted and they get the wrong thing. It's like, you know, press this button and magically food appears. Whereas we're trying to teach them about how numbers work. And they just, all they understand is food equals buttons.
Yeah.
Sort of thing.
Yeah.
That's sort of how I see. We had a question which was from Liam, which was, do we have the plans for the old iPhone 13, and does it need to be an exact copy or just a similar equivalent equipment? So no, we don't have the plans. All of that's gone. So it's just whatever people remember. it doesn't need to be exact. So, if the circuit board behaves somewhat differently, if the camera is on the bottom of the phone instead of the top, but you can still take pictures with it, you can still do
like
these
that's
things,
okay. Yeah,
as long as it's like
doesn't have to be like a carbon copy equivalent, but it has to be like
I can
like,
message this person, I can do this with this thing. It can have applications on it which connect to this place here. And
here's my final piece on all this, because I think we'll be discussing the epochs, and I'm going to go to some statistics, some numbers.
All right.
I didn't calculate this, but I'm going to just wing it, and I reckon we'll find a good number. How many people on Earth do you think know how an iPhone 13 is built?
is built from
not from. No, I'm just going like designed, like circuitry, that sort of level, right? I'm gonna say I don't know how many people are in Apple,
maybe.
but there's like thousands. Let's be charitable. Let's say 100,000 of people who know how to create phones or whatever. 100,000. Now, under our calculation here, around 99% people die, right?
Yeah.
There's about 100 people left? No, like
1,000.
1,000.
If it's 100,000.
So 1,000 people exist on Earth who just know how to create this after a week, right? So 1,000 people on Earth know. Now, let's go the other way. How many people on Earth know, say, the exact elements that goes into creating an iPhone? Not just the elements,
like raw materials,
but where to get the raw materials and how to put them into the right state that is needed for them.
Well, see, if you're even saying that, I would say 0, because they know how to do it from our current equipment, but do they know how to do it from scratch? Do they know how
let's just say people who would know where all of this material exists.
Yeah.
Again, I'm going to say probably a bit more, 1 million.
Okay.
Again, using the statistics that we were just doing, 10,000 of those people left. And then finally, the creating of those into the state. So I'm talking, the actual chips. Now, I don't know if you know about this, but creating chips is incredibly, incredibly hard, and it is not done by many people.
I wouldn't have imagined.
So I'm going to say, again, 100,000 people exist. Let's say 1,000. So the probability here is there's 1,000 people, another, say, 10,000, and another 1,000. So that is 20,000 people, and it could be scattered across the globe. And you would have to, I think at the very minimum, they would have to connect all, at least, not all of them, but a portion of them would have to connect to have any chance to put together any sort of plan. And I think unless that happened by an absolute miracle of miracles within the first year, that they both find that out, connect with each other to start putting it down, I think it'll be just never the case that it would ever exist again. Because you just would, some of those things would just get missed into the generations, and you just never pass it on. Yeah,
I agree. I think by the end point, it's screwed. There's no way of getting it back. It would just be like the flood myth sort of thing, or there was. Isn't it real weird? Maybe 10,000 years time in the future, archaeologists and stuff being like, isn't it so weird that there was the phone myth, or there was this tablet myth?
Yeah, I'll go even better. I think it would be quicker for all of civilization to forget what was said by the witch and just build up again, start basically you were in the, let's say 900s. No, it's got to be way before Mesopotamia. So say 3000 BC. So start there. You've got the wisdom. So maybe you'll get to today's current world in about so it's 5,000 years that it took that. So maybe you'll get there in about 3,000 years. I'd say that's going to be the quickest way.
Yeah. Well, I agree that our knowledge, I think, would hold us back, because we would know, we can do this, but we're just so far ahead of ourselves that going back to that starting point would. I think that knowledge would hinder us.
I think
it would make us unable to focus on the here and now, what needs to get done right now.
I would have to think that there would be some smart and powerful people to lead individuals or groups to go, okay, let's just go through the steps of civilization did, basically. So okay, well, we have to get agriculture first. Cool, that's the first thing. Let's get all that sorted out and start living and whatever. Okay, now it's not even electricity. It's like, portable water and having aqueducts and then getting electricity all set up and whatnot. I think you could get there, but yeah, you just have to go through like all the process of, to those sections, and you might be able to do it quicker, but still, yeah.
Yeah. Here's a funny hypothetical as well. Imagine, so we're both agreed we're not getting back to it. Now, what would happen if humanity managed to survive and there is like just a universal sort of law? There is no great filter. That like it's basically like humans can get back to where we were, but we're not. We don't need that knowledge to do it. If you just started off with scratch again, we could get back to a very advanced point. But we like skip the iPhone. We just don't make the iPhone. We make it we make it an Android device.
True.
That's not, it's got like a couple of differences that the which is, no,
no,
that's not good enough. Then imagine we get so far, like let's just say 100 years from where we are now, barring
and then reverts back.
A cataclysm.
Yeah.
We get 100 years and then some jackass just accidentally makes something that looks really similar to the iPhone. Yeah. And then we go back again.
Yeah.
Can you imagine that? Oh, can you imagine how pissed they would probably feel? Exactly like we feel. It was just like they're so far ahead. Oh, there's one.
The myth was real.
Juan and Kyron in 100 years time was like, well, 99.999% of humanity's dead because they're in space. And like and there's just everyone's just like being transported somewhere, or we're on Mars and it's like, oh shit, we now
killed everyone.
We now have like 300 degrees Celsius days, negative 200 degree nights, and the atmosphere is made of like sulfuric acid.
You just killed everyone.
Yeah. The other funny thing, which actually came up while I was thinking of this, is I've read a manga which is really similar to this.
You read one?
Yeah, called Dr. Stone, and it's still going on.
Okay.
And basically the plot of that is humanity is turned to stone. Everyone is turned to stone. Just this blast, this wave comes out over the whole of, covers the entire earth. And this one guy, the main protagonist, Senku.
Dr. Stone?
No. He's... they use Dr. Stone as like the idea of like the stone creation, because you have a thin layer of stone, and so what happened was everyone is blacked out, and so they still have their memories, and they're trapped in this, like, imagine if you're trapped in a cryogenic chamber for how many years passed in it? I think it was like 6,000 years or something passed in this world. And then he just wakes up and he's lucky. Like he's lucky he wasn't broken to bits by landslides and shit. So his body's all normal. And he's been awake for 6,000 years. So he wakes up with all his knowledge and he hasn't gone crazy in this time. And it's then the journey of him like waking up other people. He finds a cure that he can pour on bodies, and they'll wake up break out of their stone casing. And this is that one where I was telling you where he's like always coming up with numbers, and he's like doing mad calculations in his head, like the speed of sound is like 6 point blah 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 blah, and then he throws the spear exactly how it needs to go because he knows like the gravity and curvature and whatnot. But it's like this: they have to acquire all of these things. And they actually do acquire a fucking phone and...
Oh, do they?
Yeah. And that's like not even the craziest part, because they're already like now going up into space and they've built like rocket ships and shit before they've even basically done anything. So it's pretty funny that this hypothetical really lines up with that. So if you're interested in this at all, I could recommend that. You can also find it on YouTube and like anime. It's been made into an anime and stuff. So
I did not know.
Yeah, so I didn't even think of it until you said something, and I was like, holy fuck. Yes, I've read something which is basically this situation. Now the funny thing is it's different because there's like no death and destruction, because everyone was just turned to stone. Even though people have died because their bodies have just disintegrated because they got caught in a river,
landslide or something else. Yeah.
But it was nature wore down everything wore down all the buildings.
After the 6,000 years.
Yeah. There was nothing. How much of the stuff we design now is going to last. So yeah, that was a pretty funny one. Anything else you wanted to?
No, I think I covered it all actually.
Yeah, that was a really fun one. I enjoyed that. Yeah, I was gonna ask some stuff about like, would we try and figure out the witch's power, for example? Would we try and?
Yeah, I don't think so.
I think there would be some people tempted to, but I think that would be a fool's errand. It's like let's find the witch's power.
It would be like to go to the path of like, oh, who was it? Who did it? Maybe, but again, that Maslow's hierarchy of needs, you'd have to. By the time you've like figured out shelter, food, blah 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 blah, like then you can start being vengeful, or you can start like understanding that. But at that point, it would be like so far down the track.
Yeah, agreed. Cool. All right, so just a couple of comments here to finish up. Once again, the red star, Joey. You know what? I'll even bring it up on the screen right now. I can do that for you, mate. So this is the aphantasia that I was talking about. I believe it was this episode here. Let me bring it up quickly. Nope, not that one there. Jeez, when did we create this one? Way further down. Here we go. It's coming up on your screen now, Joey. So if you look at that, and for anyone else who's just listening to my voice now, you'll see it up. So that's what the red star looks like there. What else did we have? Some people talking about building dams and stuff. You guys are crazy.
Jeez.
I don't think anyone of us is.
I am a civil engineer by practice. I know how to design a dam, and I'm telling you, I couldn't design a dam.
Yeah,
I couldn't engineer a dam. I couldn't design your dam. It would not happen.
Liam F was confident. He reckoned it would either be done in 6 months or like 15 years. Damn, Liam F. He must be one of those people who's like.
He probably creates hypotheticals.
He knows where the minerals are. He knows how to put them in the form that he needs, and he also knows the circuitry. Fucking, I hope you live in Brisbane, Liam. We bloody need you.
We need people like Liam in this world.
Think This Up. He says the podcast with Faraz was awesome. Thanks, Karen. Hey, thank you. Think This Up. It was awesome chatting to him. Mm-hmm. Liam, again, would there be a religion of the iPhone trying to replicate, base a story of the witch to recreate it? I think there would be a religion. The mythology turns into religion pretty quick. I think that would come up. And then you'd have like battles of which religion is closer to the true tablet myth and things like that.
Yeah.
I think religions would spawn of it. Or a cult of the witch, says Liam. Yes, that's also very likely. I think that's a good place to end it. Thank you, everyone, for joining us in the live
appreciate
stream.
it. Thank you very much.
This was a really fun one. I think we'll actually, I personally want to do more hypotheticals in the future.
They're cool. They are good to do. Yeah. So we came to a conclusion that I actually didn't think I was going to get to a conclusion of. I thought we might get to like a conversation where it's like, like Liam said, 15 years, I could see it actually. But as more and more I thought through it, I was like, nah, man, there's no way this is happening. No way.
So fun. The funny thing was that didn't come up in Lex and Tim's. Like I don't think they really thought it through really deeply. Like,
I mean, we just talked about it for almost an hour.
More than an hour.
Just going through this particular... Yeah, so I think once you... And it's funny, once you start thinking through a particular thing for a long time, and we could have done this with like any individual specific thing, I think you would have come in more and more and more things.
I could have talked about that first minute for the whole hour. If we really wanted to, I could have, evaluated it based on where people are, their age, so much. Yeah. Doing more statistics of how many people would die or who would survive. Yeah, there's a lot of fun.
A lot of stuff in there.
Doing these things.
All right, folks. Thank you very much. Appreciate it for joining the live. And
yes.
If you're listening to this after the live, of course, you can always join to the live on YouTube. We're going to be doing them on Sunday, 7 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. Woo. If you can make it, folks. And of course, we are our Value for Value enabled podcast. So feel free to go to
newpodcast.com and pick one of the ones from there. Yep. One which has value.
As we
preferably.
mentioned, Fountain's got a bit of a deal at the moment in the
Fountain's
next few
got some
days.
tasty
Obviously, when if you're listening to the live, go and do that now if you haven't, obviously.
Well, no, I'll release this on Tuesday, which will be the 1st, but because we release it early in the morning, it'll still be
Oh, there
the
you go. Okay.
28th
So even if you're
for
listening
most
to the
places
audio
in the
right now,
world.
you still got a chance.
Yeah.
Still got a chance. So
Yeah. So
make sure you do.
All right, cool. That's a great place to end it.
Good. Me more lights. That's it. One out.
Karen out.